Got it. That is stuff. I will now share.
Uh, And everyone, we're just gonna give another minute or two for people to come in.
Okay, blah, blah, blah. Where can I share? Lovely. Share other share screen. There it is. Got it. Share. And I'm going to hit the start button on this. So we've got something out there. What do more?
Uh,
We want to share sound.
Okay, we already have one question from Carl. He says, "Howdy, Harold."
Oh, Carl Ott says, Mr. Ott, hello, how are you? Let's see the screen going the way it's supposed to be going. Carl is one of my hobby type folks who does amazing work. LiDAR and RF and all kinds of fun things. And with the DPRG, the Dallas Personal Robotics Groups, he is, I believe he's the never-ending president of the group at the moment. And at least it feels that way to him.
Carl says you had him at Hobby. Jim also has another question. Says hello from Calgary.
Yeah, he's another person that comes in my Twitch stream all the time. And Jim helps a lot with a lot of things.
Okay, so do we want to get started or give people another minute or two?
A couple more minutes.
Right.
We'll do it at the 5 mark here, and we'll see how it goes on. Sip the Mountain Dew. All right. So I think we get started. If anybody isn't here by now, hope they join in. So, hello, welcome to the. Oh, I'm sorry. I am not the intro person. I am not the intro person.
Yeah, I get that. That's my territory.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't just step on anybody.
It's cool. So hey everyone, thanks for coming. Yeah, so today's talk, Harold is going to be going over how your hobby can help you with your, advance your profession. Harold, take it away.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Let me make sure I've got my timekeeper in the thing. So if people who know me know that I will spend a lot of time talking. Fantastic. All right. So welcome today, Virtual Lunch and Learn. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Hope your day will be even better after this talk and in the afternoon. So we're going to talk about improving a little bit. We have over 16 offices, international offices, because they are in Canada and Mexico. And well, our newest acquisition was Zijadi, which was right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex where I am. And we welcome those guys on. It's going to be amazing. We have lots of awards that come through. You can see these things, the 13-time winner, 11-time winner of the CVs, and we were #1 this year in best companies to work for. We're really happy about it. And there's reasons for that, but we do offer a lot of services. I say but, there's no but there. And some of that #1 is because we offer all of these services: coaching, training, consulting, and you'll notice at the very bottom of their community, which I personally do a lot of. I've got a Twitch stream. Normally it's 3 times a week, 8 Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 to 10. This week, last couple of weeks been kind of crazy with other things going on, so that didn't happen. But the code launch is also amazing. If you've never been to one, we had one here a couple months ago back in November. It's fantastic. It's usually free to attend, but to get on stage takes a bit more effort. We have lots of webinars like you're watching now, and we occasionally put on a conference or two. If you need an expert in something, I will guarantee you we will have an expert. Notice the Microsoft in the cloud there. We also do AWS and some other things as well. We are Agile experts, Scrum, that's us. We're getting more into the AI and the data as we go. We do lots of great QA, and we do lots of back end, front ends. There's you probably, if you've flown on some airline that's based out of DFW that might start really near the front of the alphabet, if you've used any of their services, you've touched software that we are responsible for writing. Hold on. I had a presenter faux pas. Right. So let's get into the real talk here. How your hobby can help you advance your profession. If you want a screenshot, this would be the screenshot to take. You have my name, you have my email at Improving, you have an @Harold Poulter, that's Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and as the kids say these days, the gram. That'd be Instagram for you gray-haired people like myself. I don't do TikTok, and or Snapchat. I think I'm too old for either one of those. And then finally, the HTTPS bit.ly link there. That's a link to this GitHub, to the GitHub for this presentation. All of my presentations are going to GitHub. And in fact, if you want to skip ahead to the end of everything, you can go to that link right now because this presentation is there. So I'm about to do something. I'm about to do something that I hate. I hate people doing when they're presenting. Let's talk about themselves. I think it's important in this case. Most times what I hate about it is that I come to learn about the XYZ coolness, and I hear out of the hour talk, I hear somebody talking about themselves for 20 minutes. That's not that I want to talk about myself for 20 minutes, but that's one of my pet peeves. But in order to understand where this is coming from, I think I need to make sure you know a little bit more about me. So left to right on these pictures, on upper left, we have the nuclear briefcase. I built that for code launch, and that directly came out of my hobby. Jason, the guy running it, says, "Man, you're pretty creative on this stuff and do some crazy things. What can you do with this?" And so that's a couple hour long talk. We want to talk about all the nuclear briefcase does and how it's been used. And so that's not our object today, but I'm happy to talk about that anytime. Of course, you have my picture because, well, you got to have my picture. Then even though I did not do all the math that's on that math board, that was me connecting with some of my coworkers, knowing what their hobbies are and what their interests are, and asking them for help. And by asking them for help, I'm able to excite them and change their work day just for a little bit. For the 15 or 20 minutes that we talked about all this stuff, I might run into 45 by to be transparent about all that. But at the end of it, they were able to use their hobby and their skill and their passions to help me out. And that helping thing is a wonderful thing. You'll see I do some electronics there. In fact, that's one of my failures. If you look on that's a balance spot we're working on my stream. If you look in the upper right-hand corner of those breadboards, you'll see some black stuff. That's not supposed to be black. No, it's a smoke out. I also do a little magic. I got a funny hat. I got a lab coat that's tie-dyed. That was a red box that I kept, a black box that kept a quarter that ended up having a quarter inside of a red box instead of a black box, instead of a red box. It all happened in her hands as she was holding it out there. She was doing all the magic. Weird things happened around me. And this is part of the destination imagination that my friend Rachel Sullivan got me in the middle of. And I spent a whole day trying to make these kids at ease because they had a lot of performances to do, a lot of stress going on the thing. And they did, as the British say, a brilliant job. It was fantastic. And finally, on the last thing over there, that's Mr. Big Head. That's as a member of my Twitch stream. But we 3D printed him. I designed the base. I designed a little gray thing beside it to hold the 3D model, all of that, printed it up, painted it up, did all those crafty things there, installed some OLED eyes in the back of that from the Adafruit kit that's got a Raspberry Pi 3 in the back side of this stuff, and put all this together. He's also a Twitch chatbot. And so my streamers can use him to talk back to me through Twitch. And it's also a GitHub repository that they help. In fact, David O'Hara, our enterprise president, committed a PR to this thing to help do this, help it make them a little smarter. And of course, the first thing out of the back, I had to deny the PR just because, well, I had to put the dinger on it, But no, there really wasn't a problem. And he fixed it, and now his PR is going in. And that kind of thing. So that's a good smattering about who I am, what I do. And what the funny thing is that you think about, well, Harold's got all these hobbies, and that they're actually just one hobby. My hobby is collecting skills. I love learning a new thing. So yes, everything is a nail, but sometimes a nail requires a Phillips screwdriver. Sometimes a nail requires a real hammer. Sometimes a nail requires a spatula. Learning all these different skills allows you to attack that problem a different way. So that's really what my hobby is collecting skills so that I can do very neat things. All right. So I know you're here. You're here for this underwater basket weaving. You're here for the question about how is this going to help me in my profession? Well, let me tell you, there's some things about underwater basket weaving. You just can't just dive into the deep end of the pool and start doing it. You have to plan it. At the very least, you got project management. Very least. Also, if you think about it in the agile way of doing this, you're practicing your agile skill a bunch, because if you do it while you're holding your breath, so the product owner's sitting on the side of the pool and you come up, oh, what do you want? I would like this. You swim down the bottom of the pool, do a little bit of this, and bring it back up. Think of that as the end of the sprint. So you're producing something of value, and your product owner tells you what they like about it or don't like about it. Or maybe because you are the product owner, you come up for a breath and decide what you want to change and go back. But maybe you're also solutioning with this too. So think about this. That one line, maybe you don't even need a pool. I mean, you can fill your sink up and hold your hands underneath the water. Technically, you are underwater basket weaving. Just not your whole body's underwater. So, thinking outside the box for solutions. Those sorts of things is how we get about this. Make sure how we go about applying the things we do for fun to our daily work. And if we practice how we want to be, and the fun things we do, when we have to do it for real, guess what? We're better at them. We just are. In fact, that's one of the reasons I choose some of the tools I do. We'll talk about the 3D modeling here. So once we got past the underwater basket weaving, this hobby thing allows you to expand your network. Like, how is underwater basket weaving going to expand your network? We're going to drop the underwater basket weaving now. But how does it allow you to expand your network? I will guarantee you that if you think you're the only one at your place of business that has a hobby of whatever it is, in this case, 3D modeling, making, that kind of stuff, you're probably wrong. There's currently over 1,800 people working for Improving. There's not many, but even in this office, the Dallas Enterprise by itself, there's 5 or 6 of us that do things with the maker community, maker stuff, 3D printing, modeling, building things. Some of them are Christmas lights. Some of them are fixing other things around the house, doing stuff using the 3D modeling and printing. And we can talk about that stuff. We can help each other. It's kind of cool. Yeah, this also helps you meet new people and lets you talk to other people, makes you a more interesting person that people will want to talk to you. Like, you're wandering around thinking, well, what do you do? Well, I underwater basket weave. What is that? How is that going about the thing? And it opens up a conversation starter, because you're at these things and you're meeting and greeting people, because sometimes we do have to do social stuff. And, well, what do you do? I do software. Okay, cool. Nice talking to you. Versus, hey, what do you do? I build baskets underwater while I hold my breath for 27 minutes. what? How do you do that? And then you get a whole conversation going, right? That's kind of how that runs. And it could be, in my notes here, your hobby can pop that social bubble pin. Now you've now said something, people reacted to it in a very positive way. And so you never know where that's going to go. You'll hang out with them. I will tell you right now, no matter what you think you are, how few you need to be, you'll be surprised at how there's a community. How there's a community around there if you just go looking for it. You're going to relieve some stress. That's how. Now, some people have a hobby of exercise. Why? I don't know. But they do. And that definitely relieves the stress. Gardening, going out there. I'm not a big gardener, but when we've got gardens going, I will tell you, I will go out there with a wife. I will help her dig hands in the dirt, that kind of stuff. The idea of planting things and then watching them grow and then looking for when they're ripe or making sure they're healthy and all those sorts of things. It allows me to maybe get one with myself. This is kind of a theme going in a few of these slides on the thing. Doing puzzles. We'll save golf for a second. I like walking. Go for a walk, see what's different in your neighborhood, walk your dog, all those kind of stuff. I've got a couple of friends who love to meditate. I just usually go to sleep, but that's something which you need to do, right? You do whatever you need to do. So let's talk about golfing. How does golfing relieve stress? Think about, well, golfing's pretty stressful for me. Well, one, that's what the beer's for. But that's not really what's happening as I see it. I will tell you, I'm not a golfer. I've been on several times. People told me my swing is okay, but I'm a little off my timing and all that kind of stuff. I have no idea. I've only just got in there and started swinging a club. And I've been on like shotgun starts and all these charity events and this kind of stuff back in the day. Been a little while since I've done that. But what I found out was I have a big long stick, little bitty head on that stick. Hit a little bitty ball that's down on the ground. And I've got to hit that thing while I'm holding the stick at an angle and coming back and swinging and coming down hard. And hopefully it goes the right way. If I'm thinking about all of that and all the complexities of there, guess what I'm not thinking about? Guess what I'm not thinking about? I'm not thinking about my day-to-day worry, tiresome things that are getting me there. All that drifts away, at least for a little while. As far as the puzzles go in our break room here in the Dallas Enterprise, we usually have a puzzle on one of the break room tables that people are collectively putting together, and it does the same sort of thing, pulls you out of what you're doing and lets you concentrate just on the puzzle pieces. All right. So the hobby allows you to explore your creativity. What I mean that no one is telling you what you have to do. When you come to work, and even in the greatest of places, there's certain things you have to do. The client wants you to do a certain thing, and you don't really have a choice in that matter, right? You say, well, I'd like to try it this way, but I don't have time to try it this way, so I'll just do it the way everybody else is always doing. Even though the other way could be way better, but you don't know that. But this is your hobby allows you to be creative. And the problem with that, no one's telling you what you have to do. In the beginning, that can be both stifling and liberating at the same time. Stifling means, oh, I can do anything I want. And then you're like, well, what do I want to do? I don't know. And so you sit there and you don't do anything. Well, not for a little while anyways. You have to figure that out. But it's okay. Start exploring. You'll figure it out, pretty sure. And in fact, start just exploring things that you might want to do. And you never know. One of these things might be really, really fun. You're like, dude, I need to do this more. So that's kind of what this creativity allows you to get to. Also, leads to better job satisfaction. Okay, I work in improving, right? Improving is awesome. But even as awesome as it is, some days are just going to be bad. Things are going to happen that's going to be beyond your control. There's going to be negative stuff. But the fact that you have a hobby and you have something to look forward to when you get done with your workday, there's your light at the end of the tunnel. It'll make your day go better. You'll have You'll have a little less stress. I can't say it goes all the way because it's just not. And I'm not talking about being more productive for your employer, although that can happen. I'm talking about your perception of how you see your job and how it is internal to you. Okay, and I'll explain in a little while that means in a minute. But that's what I'm talking about. Internal to you changes your perception. Like for instance, I'm like, man, it's so hot outside. It's so hot outside. And I was talking to my next door neighbor one day, and I was talking about how hot it was, and she's out there doing whatever she's doing, and she goes, "Well, it's only 79 degrees." And I thought to myself, really, that's not really hot. She's like, yeah, you just think it's going to be hot. You think it's going to be, so you perceive it to be hot and warm. And instantly, believe it or not, I felt a little coolness come over. And that's totally a perception, changes how I'm thinking about it, right? So remember I talked about this changing your present, changing you, making you a little less stressed, maybe making you a little happier. Well, in general, you're generally more happy if you have a hobby. And guess what happens when you're generally happy? All your happiness oozes out to people around you. Oozes out to people around you and how they perceive you. So if you're having a crappy day and you're hanging around people that may or may not be having a crappy day, guess what? Their day comes maybe become a little more crappy. In fact, I've seen this several times because some folks have been were clients where I'm pretty good friends with the person that's driving the thing. And when he's in front of everybody, with the exception of me, because we've had other one-on-one conversations, he's the most cheery, perfect guy ever. Okay, team, we're going to go. We're going to be fantastic today. It's going to be amazing. And I'll come in and catch him on when he's thinking, and he's got his head down and his hands going, "Oh man, how am I going to make this work?" What he's doing there, he knows that his attitude is directly affecting his team. So the concept is, if you want to make a happy day, put on a happy face. Sometimes it's harder to do that with a hobby, and the relaxedness and knowing you've got something fun to do in the evening or fun to do after you get off work, it makes it a little easier to push that out. And if you're pushing that out, guess what? It gets absorbed, whether you want it or not. What do you want to absorb? Do you want to absorb good stuff or negative stuff? I'm going to vote for the good stuff, for the positive stuff. Okay. Another way your hobby can help you, something called RDD. Okay, so this is resume driven design. I don't know how many people have heard this before, but I'm a big believer. So, give you an example in my own life. I'm there working on my robot. It's a 6-wheeled rover. It's running something called ROS, ROS, and it uses Docker. And so I was playing with Docker, learning about Docker. I had never really used Docker in any of my projects before that I've been on with improving. But I was playing with this and learning. In fact, I learned how to, from a remote laptop, to remote over to a Raspberry Pi that's running a Docker container, and then remote into that Docker container directly all the way through and debug inside of the Docker. And I'm using Visual Studio Code on my remote laptop, and it's really a cool thing. About a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I'm on the project I'm on. They decided to implement Docker, and they asked, "Who knows about Docker?" And I said, "Well, I played with it a little bit." "All right, now you're the Docker expert." Not that you want to be the Docker expert, but you now are because you play with it some more. But it's just, it gives you the ability to talk to things, be able to converse with people about subject you are interested in. And at the very least, because you have done this stuff already without anybody chasing you, gives you some more self-reliance that, oh, I can do this because I've done this. You know, you can't really say that about a whole bunch of things, right? A lot of times, you know how to get confidence, right? Yeah, it's to be confident. I'm like, well, how's that supposed to happen? You get confident by being confident? That's crazy. It's insane. But that's how that process works. In this case, you can go figure out something you're really like, something you want to learn about, and make that your hobby is part of learning. That's where me being a skills collector comes in. Because I collect a new skill. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. But more than often, it gives me another tool in my bag, not just a hammer, but other things come up. And on the other thing, for instance, Maui. Maui's really cool. I want to learn Maui. That's Maui.net. It's out here. No one's going to pay me to come on a client and do Maui. However, we have we have an internal tool we've been using that came about because two people wanted to do some few things. And yes, it's over engineered all over the place, but because they started this as a piece of passion to work on it. They've done some really cool things, and they were able to do all the over engineering that for the most part, the clients are not going to pay for them to do that because it takes too much time to do that over engineering. And I got a story about that coming in because they were able to go deep in the situation, go figure out really what they could do with this, play with it half a dozen different ways, find the ways it doesn't work, find the ways it does. And they went deep in it so you can enjoy the journey. People on my Twitch stream will tell you one of the things I believe they like about it is that I don't normally give up when I have a problem. We start digging in and figure out how do we solve the problem. And we may end up solving it completely different than I thought it was going to need to be solved. But we wouldn't know that unless we keep plugging at it. And as much as I want to think I'm banging my head in the wall, some part of me is actually enjoying every bit of that, the problem solving aspect. And speaking of the digging deep of all of this, I've got an example. Okay, people making sure that do it okay on time and thing. Think about digging deep. I've got an example of that. Let's say, no, it's not a blank slate. Let's say you got up and you were on a project and you didn't know how to do a thing. And so you got up and you did a thing for the client and over a sprint because you had deadlines, you had all this stuff. And so you went and you Googled, you Binged. Actually, I'm a Microsoft MVP, I say. So you Binged and you Googled. Maybe you did a chat GPT on it. Maybe you did a couple of those things. And whatever it came, you got it, you plunked it down, right? And it worked. So here's an example of what the minimum, this is one of my favorite songs ever. And you'll notice it's the easy music lesson as we go. Let me know if you can't hear the sound. So now that was perfectly okay. All the notes were in the right spot. All the notes were played correctly. They were when I say the right spot, I mean, they were in the rhythm. They were in the key. They were in all of those things, right? Did it get the job done? Did you know what the song was? Hopefully you recognize this song from Willy Wonka and it's The Pure Imagination. And you were able to recognize it. It's a song. In fact, it meets all the requirements the PO would have. And currently this is how I play this on my saxophone. Did I mention, I forgot to mention, I'm currently playing this song learning the song to play on my for folks and that kind of thing. I didn't mention that in the very first screen about one of the hobbies. One of the things I do is I enjoy doing. So if we have a chance to take all the things that we're just talking about, no one's chasing. No one is telling me what I have to do, which is the first part of this. And I want to explore deeper, have a better understanding of what we're doing, right? And then same amount of time, same song, could I increase the value to somebody or someone by using what my passion is to really deep into a subject? Be T-shaped, as we like to say. Wide breadth, and then you have deep knowledge in certain subjects. So what that's going to give you, that's going to give you something more. Okay. So back on that. That first song, the first part was dead on what it's supposed to be. Second part, obviously there's something more there, right? Something more, more value imparted. And I would argue that even though there was more going on in the second performance of that couple of phrases, the effort level was definitely less, maybe even half as much as the bare minimum level, because you got to explore more. You got to figure out all the pieces and parts. And now, instead of being something you're just doing because you're figuring out, now it's become a part of who you are and how you do things. For instance, especially in the coding world, you know, how are they able to put out all this code and know that this is going to work? Well, it's because they've done it 27,000 times. You know, now it looks like easy peasy and they look like geniuses. The thing is they're not. They're no smarter than you. Yeah, they're no smarter than you, or they're certainly more capable than you. Just that they've had an opportunity to do things much more time than you have. And in your hobby, if your hobby happens to be one of these things that you can translate to, like for instance, we'll talk about this in a minute, money. It translates to, now you've done it 27,000 times. And so when it comes up, oh yeah, I can do that. Here, let me go do that for you. And you do it, and then you do it at the same time that somebody else had to go research it. And it's way more valuable. It's way more capable of doing things. And speaking of value, I was showing this to my wife, you know, using her as a play tester when I'm talking about it and stuff. And so I played this for her. And first half, she's like, yeah, I know that song. And the second half, after she's listened to it, doing it, she goes, yeah, you know, we've got a bedroom back over there and stuff. So I think the value to me is pretty evident on that, right? But it's, you know, kind of be funny on that whole thing. So hopefully that gets my concept across. The next thing is laid in the mailbox. And there's a couple of folks about that if you do your hobby well enough, maybe you can make a little money off of it. I'm not talking about tons. I'm not talking about quitting your job and doing that. But maybe you make a few extra dollars to help support your hobby. Maybe you make a few extra dollars to, buy you a new tool or go on a little bit of a vacation, or in my case, take my wife to dinner on vacation. You know, that kind of thing. And Or maybe you be like one of our improvers, Joe Brinkman, who he's a fantastic developer, manager up in the Ohio area. And he also does woodworking and laser cutting and all those sorts of things. Him and his wife have a whole business of doing this. And they started off as a hobby. And now they got a whole business for doing this stuff. And I think it's fantastic. So the question maybe is, how do you choose a hobby? How do you choose a hobby? Well, there's a couple of things. It has to be enjoyable. Why would you do something that's not enjoyable? Unless somebody was paying you to do it or you had to do it for some reason, right? Doesn't really matter if you're good at it. One of my best friends what did I say best friends? They're not really best friends. They're friends I've had for a long time. Started the Demotivator series. And they look like accessories, but they're not really. Despair.com, really funny site. And they've got one of their original posters was, if you can't do something well, learn to enjoy doing it poorly. And that's okay, because if you enjoy doing it, there's a lot of people who think they can sing. As long as they're not inflicting me on me, I'm glad they think they can sing, right? That kind of stuff. Or maybe your hobby chooses you. And what I mean by that is, go explore, do some things. Hey, I've never done that before. We'll go do that. And maybe that runs into something where this is really fun. I enjoy doing it. And so let's go do this hobby thing, right? Well, in order for this hobby thing to really go on, you're going to need to make that a habit. And in order to make it a habit, a couple of things. You need to schedule some time. In my case, my habit so far is doing the Twitch streaming and helping people and having people help me, and we learn new things that we do. And I got it scheduled Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 8 to 10 Central. And it's not always there, but most of the time it's there. Am I showing off a bit? Yeah, I'm doing that too. What I mean by show off, remember this thing we're talking about, networking, meeting, and finding your crowd of people back earlier in the slide? Go find those people. For instance, the DPRG. I don't know, Carl's in here. Every Tuesday night, we get on a call, and we praise people by handing them stars of some sort, showing us working robots or things and they go talk about things they worked on the past week. Sometimes they're asking for help. Sometimes they're there to show off, but they're all met with, man, go, that's great. Positive reactions. And that's a really good reinforcement. Even if the thing didn't do what you wanted to do, the person that you're talking to knows how hard that is, because they're in this hobby too. They're in this interest space as well. And so they know how difficult it was even to get a little bit of something, and they're going to give you the positive reinforcement. And how do you know it's a habit? You miss it when you don't do it. That's really how you know. There's a whole bunch of other habits that are bad. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about habits that are good. Once a good feeling and have positive results in your life, as opposed to the negative results that could come from bad habits. I got plenty of bad habits, I'll tell you that now. But I've got some good habits. All right. Now let's talk about, remember that networking thing I was talking about? Very early on, very, very early on. Let's talk about some people who have some hobbies that you may not be aware of their hobby. Buffett and his ukulele. I'm not talking Jimmy here. Jimmy's got a whole different set of stuff going on. I'm talking Warren Buffett, Berkshire Hathaway Buffett. He plays his ukulele, and apparently he's pretty good at it. He enjoys doing that. It gives him a break away from everything else, so he can play, enjoy playing his ukulele. Bill Gates reads a lot, like 50 books a year, a lot. Mariah Carey gets up, collects butterfly stuff everywhere. Elon Musk likes to play first-person shooters. So if you're running around in a game, a Fortnite, PUBG, whatever is going on, and you get a headshot, you're never quite sure. That might be Elon on the back of person that just took you out, or it could be a 12-year-old kid with a cheater, but who knows, right? As long as you're having a good time with it. Barack Obama loves playing pickup basketball games. I suspect most of those are with Secret Service these days, just due to the security aspects of it. George Bush paints. He's local around here in Dallas, and every now and then we see one of his paintings come around. Julia Roberts treasure hunts with a metal detector running around the beach. Can you imagine that? Walking out on the beach somewhere, St. Thomas, St. John, something like that, and you look up now, well, there's Julia Roberts with a metal detector fishing for, I don't know, dimes or something. I don't know. That's pretty weird, but that's pretty crazy. But the craziest part for me is the last one. I did research on this after I saw this note because I didn't quite believe it. Mike Tyson has been breeding racing pigeons since he was 11 years old. And you can tell when he talks about it, he truly enjoys it. I did some research. I got some videos of him showing up his pins and the whole works. Think about this. Let's just say you're walking through a hotel or walking through an airline or going to some, and you got Mike Tyson, who probably has an entourage at some point, there, drinking over there, and there are people crowding around him and things and want to talk about boxing this and boxing that, and which he's known it for, and that's what everybody knows him. But if you walk up to Mike Tyson and you happen to be a pigeon racing breeding person too, and you know this about him, you walk up and you say, hey, I've been trying to breed these pigeons. Have you ever tried to breed these pigeons? Just simply because of the scarcity of that question, I think you will get lots of Mike Tyson time. Much different relationship than wanting to know about his latest boxing thing or some other thing. And then that happens in an instant. And it's all due to your hobby of making that happen. And does that advance your career? I don't know. You never know. Mike Tyson may need whatever you're offering, and now he's got a phone number and that kind of stuff. Maybe it's possibilities. But my favorite thing of how your hobby advances your career and how you made an impact. And this has happened a couple times in the last 18 months. I've been pulled into calls here at Improving. We're discussing potential work for a potential client. We're solutioning for those clients. Right? I got called in specifically for some of my IoT, Raspberry Pi, Maker kinds of things, because this was sort of in that area. And as we're writing the statement of works to go out, they have to get approved by presidents of the enterprises and all that sort of stuff. And I tell the story all the time. I tell Bill that I tell this story, and he has never told me not to tell the story. So we're going to tell Bill Curry, this one in particular that we're talking about, gets up, and in the note on the side, as we're building all these things up, he gets up and says, we can do that? We're like, absolutely. Harold Fulcher and Craig Sun says we can do that. We can do that. Curtis Hyde, our president, he's been known to say, we can do that? Yes, we can do that. Because we have such a diverse collection of people that have various interests and stuff. And so that's my very, very favorite thing to know, that I've actually made kind of an inroad on this. And now, oh, wow, we can do this. That guy can do that. So next time something comes up, guess what? You're the person. Because you know we can do that. You know you can do that. The next two slides, about here. Yeah, about where I want to be. The next two slides are links. One of them are, and so that's why I gave you that GitHub link right at the very beginning. Oh, I forgot to give you another link. Shame on me. Bad presenter. Bad presenter. General happiness. Let me go give you a link in here to back up what I'm saying. Okay, where's my chat? Oh. There you go. Oh, look, huge Cavill fan. Henry Cavill's a huge Warhammer fan. Imagine that sitting across the table from The Witcher and Superman trying to beat his orc. That's awesome. There's a link that I think you need to know about being happy. They have something called the Pete. Where is it going? They have something called Pete, which is the Pittsburgh Enjoyable Activities Index, and this has charts and graphs and things I didn't make here that I should have made along with that link, is that being generally happier helps in all kinds of things. BMI, circumference of your waist, blood pressure, all those sorts of things. And there's a document that I put it in the chat, so you can go specifically go look that up without having to go here. Yeah. Well, that's cool. That's really, really cool about Henry Cavill. Just imagine, I'm about to beat up on Superman's work. I don't know that I maybe I don't throw that big card. I don't know. But anyway, I got we got links. So if you'd like to go see the easy music lesson, the complete video of that, which plays it in several speeds, but you should get the Casio sound. And then Jeff Reed and David Pollock. Jeff Reed is from Australia. David Pollock, forget exactly where he's from, but David Pollock does a lot of online teaching of saxophone, and Jeff Reed's arguably one of the best alto saxophone players on the planet. He's from Australia. And all the other stuff that I've got going on, there's reference links in the back, at the very, very back of all this, that should get you going in those same sorts of things. Same sorts of ways about how I came to some of these conclusions and some of the ideas of that. That's pretty much the slideshow. And I'm going to stop sharing. I'll leave it shared a minute. Yeah, that's pretty much the slideshow and stuff going on. If we have any questions, ask them out and chat to me. And if you got any thoughts, feel free to send them my way.
Yeah. So I don't have a question, but I do have my own, testimonial.
Sure, bring it.
A few years ago, I got back into Skyrim, and this time I got big into modding it. And so, at the time I had and now I have a triple monitor setup, and not all mods and not all games really handle that kind of resolution very well. And there are a few mods in particular that I would install them and they would add UI elements and they would just be all over the place because of the unusual aspect ratio. Yeah. And so so I decided to kind of take matters into my own hands and fix these mods for myself. And that's when I learned that Skyrim's UI is actually written using Adobe Flash, which I had never worked with before.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. My head's hurting now.
Yeah, so it is written with Adobe. The UI elements are written with Adobe Flash. And this was 2017 or so. So it was, that skill was long since no longer marketable. But as it turns out, within a few months of me learning ActionScript so that I could mess with these mods, the client that I was at had contracted some software from Adobe, and sure enough, there were some Flash elements to it that I needed to dive into. Yeah.
So let me ask you a couple questions then. So the idea that you're now doing something that you just picked up because you wanted to, because of necessity, because you got to play the game, right? is now translated into something. And so when the client asks you, hey, can you do this? Was there a lump in your throat because you didn't know what you're doing? Or was there like, oh yeah, I got this. I've done this a bunch of time. Let's go do it. And do you want fries with that? What reaction kind of did you have on that?
Well, so the way it played out exactly was we had this software that nobody really knew how to work in, and I just, I had been working in ActionScript for less than a few, just a few months leading into that point. I was like, oh
Yeah.
hey, I actually recognize this. So that's really how it played out. There wasn't really a lump in the throat moment. It was a wow, this is actually this actually is happening. So
All right, that's cool. That's really, really cool. That worked out for you, right? I know it's it's a long time. It was a while ago, but still, it doesn't. I mean, it still shows that this kind of stuff can happen.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got a question from Jim. Collecting skills is an interesting hobby. Can you list some of these skills and which is your most enjoyable skill?
I got a bunch of them, right? Some of those skills that I have, and Jim comes by my stream all the time. And so we can woodwork, we can 3D model, and to that end, with the 3D model, I use a tool called Fusion 360. And one of the reasons I use that tool, there's a bunch of 3D modeling tools out there. Some of them pay for it, some of them there's usually a free version of most of them, or a low cost version. The reason I'm using 360 is because one, I'm cheap, and I do have a hobbyist license because I do qualify for that license. And two, it's probably more important, is that it's a pro level tool. So that means a couple of things. It means it's feature rich, means there's a lot of stuff to it. And sometimes it takes a little bit to learn what's going on. But it also means that I'm using a tool that the professionals use. And so as I learn and go and get better with that, not that I'm going to become a professional 3D model anywhere. The idea, though, is practice what you do professionally, practice as it were a profession, so that if it ever becomes a profession, you're already good at it, right? And skills could be that I solder, I woodwork, I could tie dye apparently, and that's what I did my lab on. And the favorite of all of these kind of skills that I have is probably a combination that allows me to make things like the Mr. Big Head. And I don't think it's any one skill, it's a combo of them all. So I can push them all together in some big ball and get something cool out of it. I think I do these other collecting of the skills so that I can get to the end of making some fun. I hope that sort of explains that. And some of these skills, believe it or not, talking, telling jokes, little magic, the idea of being able, or like this, I'm not, I'll tell you right now, I'm the best presenter in the world. I certainly am not. But because I'm communicating with people and getting to know people and that sort of thing allows me to be some sort of a presenter, and allows me to hopefully these slides were at least enjoyable to look at, if not informational, and figure those kind of things out. That's a skill too, generating a PowerPoint slide, PowerPoint deck, and that's a skill as well. I pick them up all the time. I think, I enjoy my coding skills, knowing how to code, that kind of thing. But I don't think there's any one single skill that is my favorite, other than the combining of all those various skills to get something cool out. Hope that answers your question, Jim. If not, you'll tell me tonight. Stream, I got a feeling. Yeah.
Jim says it mostly answers his question.
Why now?
Jim says it mostly explains.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I've got 12:57 on my TikTok here. And if we don't have any more questions, I'm going to turn this back over to Mr. Hart. I believe he has a few words to say about upcoming virtual lunch and learns.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, so thanks everyone for coming. So I know, so next week's talk is going to be from Devlin Lyles out of the Houston office. He's going to be discussing the state of the tech industry. So a bit of a difference from this one, but if anyone's interested, keep an eye out on that. Should be out next week.
Fantastic. Mr. Lyles is a heck of a speaker and always interesting no matter what he's talking.
And that's the only thing that I was told to promote
Okay.
at the end of this. So
No, that's fine. That's great. So I do believe that brings us pretty much to our end. So we're not right at 1 o'clock. We're close enough, I think. So, Mr. Hart, thank you very much for all your help and all your assistance. Thank you for everybody that showed up and listening to what's going on. If you have any comments, you know my email addresses are right at the front of all this presentation. So send me. Most people, I think they're on there, Jim, Carl, those kind of things, know how to get in touch with me in all kinds of different ways. And harold.pulcher@improving, my email address. Send me some email, give me some feedback. Always welcome. Feedback is always welcome. That's how I get better.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron, once again, and have a good day.
Good day, everybody.